Rigor and relevance, what is it? It begins with this. You had a presentation on Bloom's taxonomy. This is the original Bloom's taxonomy. I'm so old, I took an undergraduate course from the guy. He never called it Bloom's taxonomy. He called it the knowledge taxonomy. I call it the rigor taxonomy. Begins with basic awareness, comprehension, application. Moves up to analysis, synthesis, evaluation. I already gave you the application model. What is rigor and relevance? It's this, and ladies and gentlemen, you need to imprint this on your memory, because this is the framework for the new Common Core State Standards, but more importantly, the new next generation assessments will use this as the framework for the test. The RFP, $330 million, was already let to develop the test using this. Let me explain it to you. A is low-level knowledge with no application. Low-level knowledge, no application. Ladies and gentlemen, you'll see in a moment, that's where most of the state tests in the country are right now. It's the state of our paper and pencil testing. Low-level knowledge, no application is A. B, low-level knowledge, a lot of real-world application. Low-level knowledge, real-world application. You know, in elementary school, who's really good at B? Kindergarten teachers. Real-world application, basic knowledge. High school, you know who's really good at it? Real-world application, basic knowledge. Career and tech ed. Career and tech ed. It's real-world application, basic knowledge. C, very sophisticated knowledge. Often with little, if any, relevance. Forgive me, forgive me, forgive me. It is called college prep that most of us were very good at. D is rigor and relevance. D is the world they really need to be prepared for. We're in the state of Minnesota, so I pulled 4 of your student expectations right out of your state standards for 9th grade math. This is 9th grade math, state of Minnesota. I want everybody in the room to read them. I'm going to walk out in the audience. These are right out of your state standards, all in 9th grade. I'm going to ask you in a moment, it's why I came out in the audience, I'm going to ask you to raise your hands in a moment if you would have a hard time doing 1 or more of these. Now, I'm not embarrassed to tell you, when I was in 9th grade, I could do these, but it's been a long time since 9th grade. Without a little refresher, I'm going to be in trouble. I'm going to ask you to raise your hands if you have a hard time doing 1 or more. Someone who doesn't raise their hands, that means you can do it. I'm going to pick you out of the audience. That's why I'm out here. I'm bringing you up front, and we're going to see how you do. Okay, show of hands. How many have a hard time doing 1 or more? Don't be shy. Okay, well, let's try this then. Instead of that, look at these 4, and in a moment, I want you to tell me whether you think these 4 are easier than the previous 4. By a show of hands, how many find these 4 easier than the previous 4? Hands way up, keep them way up, look around the auditorium. It's almost everybody in the room except probably the math teachers. Ladies and gentlemen, they are the exact same 4 standards twice. I just repeated them. The first 4 are math in isolation, exactly as they now appear in your state standards. These 4 are anchored in real-world, everyday applications we can understand. These are directly from the Common Core State Standards. The difference between the old standards and the new is the new standards will be application-based. But I just gave you A to B. The real issue is they're going to go up to C. Let me take you just a bit deeper. How many have heard the term relationships? Rigor, relevance, and? Let me give you the reason why that term first emerged. It came out of the research we were doing, but it was very personal. I know 9th grade was really hard for a lot of you, so I'm going to take you down to 2nd grade. Can you handle 2nd grade stuff here? Let me introduce you to the world's most gifted and talented 8-year-old. He's the smallest guy here, right in the front. The littlest guy? As far as I can determine, he is the world's most gifted and talented 8-year-old. Can anyone guess whose grandchild he happens to be? Mm-hmm. Now, Bonnie and I have 11 grandchildren. Remember our own kids? We have 11 grandkids, 12th on the way any day. The 11 we have are literally ages 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. We do everything in my family very orderly, okay? Jack is the son of my oldest daughter. Anybody remember you telling me about my oldest daughter? Off the charts. Her and her husband ran a group medical practice in North Carolina, right out of medical school. A group medical practice, and that group medical practice ran into a complication in insurance forms because they had multiple disciplines, and none of the software packages dealt with multiple disciplines. So they create their own multiple discipline medical records. What they soon found out was hospitals liked that. They had the same problem. They are now 41 years old and own the second largest medical records company in the United States. Now, why do I tell you that? Because this little guy, their son, has never lacked for anything in his life. His name is Jack. What's his name? Jack lives an extraordinarily privileged life, okay? And I don't think he's especially spoiled, but he's pretty privileged life. But he doesn't know he's privileged. Everybody in his neighborhood's the same. Let me tell you this story about Jack. I live in northern New York State. If you heard I'm from New York, clarify this. I am from northern New York, okay? There is a difference. Yes, there are 11 kids in my high school graduating class, and I was in the top 10 too, just so you know, okay? 7 of the 11 grandchildren live near Bonnie and I in northern New York. Jack, his big sister, and his little brothers live with his mom and dad in North Carolina. So I fly all the time, so about every 6 weeks, Bonnie and I fly down for a weekend to see Jack and his big sister and his little brothers. His parents too, but... And I have Jack convinced of something. Jack believes, right down to his toenails, this kid believes he's going to be a professional football player. He really believes it. Now, he's in the 10th percentile in height and weight. But he's going to be a professional football player, okay? I have Jack convinced there's nothing in the world I like to do more than play football. Can anybody guess why I want Jack thinking I want to play football all the time? Who's he want to spend all of his time with when Grandpa's in town? Me. I'll tell you a story. It happened last year. He was in 2nd grade at the time. He's 3rd now. I get there on a Friday night, Saturday morning. He's waking me up and goes, "Come on, Grandpa, let's go. Come on, my friends know you're here." We go out in the backyard. It's like the Sandlot. Suddenly there are 11, 7, 8, and 9-year-olds and me. We divide up teams. 5 little guys and me on one team, 6 little guys on the other. Jack's on my team. Jack said, "Grandpa, you be the center. I'll be the quarterback." Now, if you don't know football, why that's important is the center hikes the ball to the quarterback and then protects the quarterback so nobody else can hit him. Next to his little friends, I'm like a 300-pound lineman. And then he says, "And Grandpa, as soon as you hike me the ball, whack the kids on the other side." But listen to what he says next. He says to his little buddy Grant, who's in 2nd grade with him, "Grant, when Grandpa hikes me the ball, go out 20 feet, go to the left 25 degrees, and I'll hit you on 4. These are 2nd graders. Go out 20 feet, go to the left 25 degrees, I'll hit you on 4. Do we have any elementary educators or former elementary teachers in the room? Is this not true? A 2nd grader wouldn't know what a percent or a degree was. They wouldn't know. And so I'm thinking, what the heck these kids even talking about? But he said, go out 20 feet, go to the left. How many degrees? 25. Let me show you what happens. I can't run 20 feet here, but I'll try. I hike him the ball. His little buddy runs out 20 feet, and he stops, and he goes just like this. And where does Jack throw the ball? Over here. Because Jack threw the ball 25 degrees to the left. What did his friend just run? 90. What did his friend get mixed up? Quarter of a circle with 25 degrees. The little kid comes back to the huddle. And my grandson is just staring at him. And his little friend says, I know, Jack, I know, don't say anything. I get these percents and degree things all mixed up. And Jack says, well, you better work on it. I'll never pass you the ball again. Relevance makes rigor possible. But then he says something that he didn't understand. He said, don't you remember what Mrs. K taught us? I thought, who in the heck is Mrs. K? So I go in after the game. I say to my daughter, who's Mrs. K? She said, oh, it's their second grade teacher. Oh, by the way, she is their third grade teacher this year. What do they do? I went and met Mrs. K. I said, Mrs. K, I spent 11 years of my life heading up curriculum and testing for the state of New York. I said, let me tell you what I know. I know a second grader hasn't got a clue what a percent or a degree is. How did you teach that 5th grade concept to second graders? She said, oh, it's easy. I said, enlighten me. She said, I got a lot of little boys that love football. By the way, do you have any little boys that love football? She said, so I invited the varsity football coach to my class. Now, I know to you guys, most of you in the audience, the coaches are a pain in the neck. But you know what they are to those second grade little boys? Right next to God. She talks to him ahead of time. He comes in. He puts 3 pass plays on the blackboard, on the board. Says to the kids, I'm going to run these plays on Friday night. See if your parents can bring you to the game. And pick out when I run them. More importantly, kids, I'm coming back in 2 weeks. I want to go out in the playground and see if any of you can run these plays for me. Because I am now scouting for my future players. Oh. What's Jack and all his buddies want to do? Go out and play football. They got no idea what the numbers mean, so who do they ask to come? Mrs. K. She thought 3 grade levels up.